LPT, know your rights, especially when interacting with police. I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but in the US the police can lie to you, and they don't have to inform you of your rights, except in specific circumstances like reading you your Miranda right. Some quick tips: don't let them into your house without a warrant. If they have one, check the address and that it was signed by a judge. An open door is considered an invitation, so if you're having a party, make sure the door is always closed after people come in. Don't give consent to search your vehicle, and the biggest tip is to shut up. The police are not your friends, they are there to gather evidence and arrest people. After you have identified yourself, you don't have to say another word. Ask for a lawyer and plead the fifth. Disclaimer: I am not a lawyer, but the ACLU website has some great videos that I think everyone in THRUS should watch. https://www.aclu.org/videos/Elon James White. What do if you're stopped? Police. No. Don't just stop talking. You have to invoke your right to silence. Clearly state that that's what you are doing. There is a difference, and it does matter. Don't be vague about the lawyer request. I will not answer any more questions without a lawyer present. If you are wishy-washy, that can claim that you never asked for a lawyer, and once you've asked for a lawyer, they are not supposed to ask more questions, but they can talk. And usually in talking, it will get you to say something. Don't. Just be patient. Sit there. Quietly. Funny, when I was a kid, we had a house party. It got a bit out of control. Teenagers being teenagers. Funny thing was, we did exactly this. Turned every light off in the house. Locked all the doors. They kept knocking. Even one cop said, "We've got warrant to search the house." Kept banging on the door and surrounded my house for like an hour or two. We just stayed quiet and drank some more beer until they left. There's a few ways police can enter your home without a warrant, just so people know. 1. If you let them in. 2. In the pursuit of a person in the commission of a crime. 3. They can hear the sounds of distress, such as someone screaming for help. That's about it, really. Also, don't argue with the officer or resist. State your rights and then ask to speak with a lawyer. Argue with the judge. The other benefit of not speaking is letting them make mistakes. When you do get a lawyer is when you can point out to them what you think the cops did wrong, then if so, your lawyer can use that as leverage towards getting the case dismissed, evidence tossed, whatever. Why tell the cops what they're doing is illegal in the moment when they can rectify or cover themselves? Let them find out in court. Their oversight cost them the case. Don't talk to the police. https://www.youtube.com/watch V=D709X7E. I'll add to this: if the police show up at your door to chat, it means they lack sufficient evidence for an arrest. The reason they're there is to try and force you to say something that can be used against you. You are under no obligation to speak to the police if they come to your door. I propose civil rights, civil law, and basic government structure should be taught in all high school social studies classes. I don't answer questions. I choose to assert my Fifth Amendment rights. I do not consent to searches. I want a lawyer, etc. How does this work? For simple questions on a traffic stop: where are you headed, where are you coming from, etc. Seems like refusing to answer would raise suspicion and potentially have the opposite effect of its intent. As usual, do not talk to the police, aside from the absolutely necessary. Nothing you say will help you, and everything you say can potentially be used against you. Former BF was NYPD for years, then became a lawyer. He said the biggest tip is to keep your mouth shut around cops. Some good advice. Some clarification though. Greater than some quick tips: don't let them into your house without a warrant. If they have one, check the address and that it was signed by a judge. Law aren't required to show you the warrant prior to entering. They will usually provide the warrant when they are done, or will leave a copy at the location. Greater than an open door is considered an invitation, so if you're having a party, make sure the door is always closed after people come in. This isn't true, except for allowing La to look inside. They still can't enter private property, and if they do, you can tell them to leave if they don't meet the requirements of the Fourth Amendment. Read the title and immediately thought this is only going to be for the US. Cops aren't required to understand or know the laws they are enforcing, so even if they are breaking the law, they have the power and the guns. They don't care whether or not what they're doing to you is legal or not. That's an issue for a judge to decide. Don't argue with cops or be disrespectful, because you might have the last laugh when you speak to a judge, but the cops will have the first, second and third laughs. Fun fact: the police also have no obligation to protect you from danger. I love how, at least in the US, everybody is expected to know their own rights and know what's illegal, but there is no real effort made to teach hardly any of that in schools. In terms of rights, everybody's heard of the Bill of Rights, and we all know there's 10 of them, but how many people could name more than 2 or 3? And those are the most basic rights we've all got, to say nothing of the countless laws passed since then. This being charged specifically reminds defendants of the right to remain silent, in the form of the Miranda warning. Before you are charged, you still have the right to silence and/or having a lawyer present for questioning, but must know and exercise those rights yourself. I watch a lot of the police interrogation videos on YouTube, and even though I have almost zero plans to become a murderer, it blows my mind how many of them say they won't speak without a lawyer present and, with only the slightest prodding, will still lay out their entire life story. Almost like they think by asking for a lawyer suddenly everything they say is inadmissible. Be wary of, "Come on man, I'm just trying to make small talk. Bro, we're not friends." Exercising your right isn't a personal attack on them, but some will see it that way. I've always wondered, what do you owe if you don't actually have an attorney on contact? I followed this advice to the letter. It got me stripped and forced to sleep in a concrete jail cell with no blanket of pillow. Do you have any idea how concrete sucks the heat out of your body? What it didn't get me is convicted of driving. LPT, don't immediately ask for a lawyer unless being arrested. So did we. Just turned the music down, closed all the shades and kept partying quietly. We all ended up sleeping there that night, which was kind of fun. Ha ha ha. Same thing happened. Hostess goes, everybody quiet. Nobody windows. We had a chuckle but then did just the same as you. That quote lives on in our group of friends forever. For through the open door or a window can they plainly see something illegal such as a marijuana plant. Same goes for your vehicle. Let your attorney argue with the judge. And if you're committing a crime, don't fight the arrest. If you're not committing a crime, don't fight the arrest and sue them later. I have a relative who is a police officer, and he went to arrest someone with a warrant once, and the guy was just sitting on his front porch reading a book. My relative walked up and asked if he was name of guy on warrant, and the guy said he was, and the cop said he had a warrant for his arrest, and the guy asked if he could see it just to make sure it was him and not like his father or something. Guy never gets up out of the chair. He reads the warrant, and he says, "Oh. Well, this is a screw-up, but it's not your screw-up, you're just doing your job. So I guess let's go. Is it okay if I tell my wife where I'm going?" My relative was so astonished by how casual this response was he didn't know how to describe it. Lots of people get really agitated when they're arrested, that's why all the handcuffs and stuff, but this guy was just yeah, whatever. ETA, it was an identity theft thing. Someone stole his wallet and pretended to be him and rented a car and never returned it. The guy had apparently been arrested for it already, and his lawyer had assorted paperwork proving it wasn't him to take down to the courthouse, so he was out that same day. When it was all done, he thanked my relative for his professionalism and courtesy, and reiterated that he didn't blame him at all, he had a warrant and he executed it. Not his fault somebody else issued a warrant in error. This is good advice. However, it shows a big issue with our justice system. Poor people are. Yeah, it's one thing to say a lawyer up but quite difficult for the poor. And while public defenders exist, they're way too busy to do anything except either enter a guilty plea or you end up in jail awaiting trial forever. This is exactly what happened to me. I was waiting for a friend in an empty business parking lot, which is admittedly sketchy, and cops drove up to me. It was two of them. One opened the car door and asked me if I had anything in the car. I told them I didn't. They searched the car, found a variety of drugs and a couple of baggies a friend who is a dealer left behind. I was about to be more than I realized at the time. I was so careless. My lawyer cackled when I walked him through what happened and told him the cop approached me without saying anything and just opened the car door. Whole case got thrown out because the search was performed illegally. This video saved me a lot of headache when I got in trouble a few years ago sleeping in my car after a night at the bar. Key in car equals DUI in my state. Staying silent, they had almost no case against me, no proof or evidence of wrongdoing when it came to court. I got off with a minimal slap wristing. For those of you who don't have the attention span or something that long, this sums it up in a minute. https://www.youtube.com/watch V equals SGWHRKDX350. This is a classic that everyone needs to watch at least once. Absolutely the most valuable video on YouTube, for Americans. I've watched it many times. Growing up in the 1960s and 1970s, today's reality is diametrically opposed to what I was told growing up. I need periodic refreshers to tamp down my childhood training. Cops are your friends. If you're in trouble, find a cop, and recalibrate to today's reality. Cops are the mafia, they lie, cheat, and steal, and will happily shoot you and lie about it. A cop. I burned this speech to DVDs and gave them out as gifts. The best response you can give to a cop asking you questions is, I don't answer questions. The cop's gonna do what they're gonna do. Talking won't help you. They'll tell you afterwards that it would. But it won't. Greater than we just want to talk then talk to each other. Yeah, this stuff sounds great. But if a cop really wants to search your belongings they'll just take them, and when you protest say things like what are you a lawyer? Well they ticket you anyway. Ask me how I know. Yes, I was asked where I go on a traffic stop. I was going camping. Given where I was and the time, it helped a lot decreasing tension to let the cop know I was going camping and just an harmless random person on the road. At first he was very nervous, likely thinking I was in some drug deal stuff. And he let me go. This LPT is valid only depending on circumstances, better to use our own judgment. I don't want to discuss my day with you, officer. Am I being detained or am I free to go? You dated Detective Crazy? Done. Yeah, but they'll claim exigent circumstances and let themselves in. Also, you can't laugh if you're dead. You are correct, sir. The Supreme Court ruled in 2005 that police do not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. https://www.nytimes.com/2005/28/politics/justices rule police do not have a constitutional duty to protect. html. The Supreme Court also ruled in 2022 that there is not penalty if the police don't read you the Miranda rights. https://www.npr.org/2022/07/03/11096076667/ Supreme Court says police can't be sued for not reading out Miranda rights. It's psychological. People hate uncomfortable silences. I recommend the interrogation of this Canadian Air Force colonel. https://u2.b/bslbdzkea. They like to play the you seem a little high-strung or you need to relax or why are you so angry? card, too. Leo can get away with a lot of if they claim in court that they felt threatened or felt like their safety was at risk. Almost guarantees that you have to respond by saying you're not angry or something to that effect, which leads to then why won't you talk to me? etc. It's the verbal equivalent of a cop throwing a revolver at your feet and telling you to pick it up, except you don't have to actually pick it up. They can just claim that they thought you picked it up. It's dark. Usually the police send you to jail and they leave. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be provided eventually, but the police don't immediately need to get you in contact with a lawyer because you ask. They just can't continue to question you without one. If you can't, one will be provided. Public defender. Even if you don't qualify, they'd be your first stop, so to speak. You can usually retain them for a fee if you make too much to get them for free, or seek out counsel after consulting with them. I got arrested once for having a license expired by a week. They short-cuffed me with my arms behind my back, took my belt and work boots from me. After that, I asked if I'd be uncuffed or at least moved to the front in case I needed to use the bathroom. The officer told me the floors are concrete. Figure out your bathroom break on your own. Then he just left me in there. 3 hours later, they came in for mugshots and to give me a notice to appear. I never once argued. Never got mouthy. Complied fully. Yeah, but you don't have to answer any questions and can just walk away from them if they haven't legally detained or seized you. 5. They just enter anyway and lie later. Good luck. Your attorney should be arguing with the prosecuting attorney, not arguing with the judge. If you argue with the judge, you're going to have a bad time. When I lived in Colorado, there was a guy with the same name as me who had felony warrants. The local police showed up and beat on the door at around 4 a.m., and when I eventually answered, it went like this: Officer 1, are you, name, me, yes sir, I am. Officer 1, Mr. Name, we have a warrant here for your arrest. Me, no, you really don't. Do you have any other details, driver license number, maybe? All 3 officers looked at me in stunned silence. At the time, I was working with a federal prosecutor and several DOIG, Office of the Inspector General, agents doing digital evidence on what became a fairly large child case that spanned multiple DO sites. I met with the agents every day, and the prosecutor several times a week. I explained this to the officers, and gave them the numbers of the federal prosecutor and all involved agents. They did have a deal hash for the guy, and it didn't match. They apologized and I had a good laugh in the office, but about every 6 months for a couple of years, some officers would bang on my door at 4 a.m. looking for the other guy and leave empty-handed.